having recently gone through the process of reporting your childhood abuse to the police, you then found yourself going through the process of reporting more recent abuse to the police. If you feel comfortable describing your experience of that reporting process, whether you felt there'd been an evolution in society or whether you felt there were still substantial problems with the way in which abuses like this are handled. How are you feeling?
I just feel a bit sad, because it was just like something horrible to happen when I thought like I'd never be abused again, and then something happened quite recently.
Yeah. I feel like it would have potentially the power to let other people know that they're not alone in the confrontation they experience with the police, and to let them know that they're not alone in that experience. On the other hand, I deeply value your well-being and your sense of comfort and safety in talking about what happened to you. So these things have to be balanced. There's no point in...
Yeah, I had quite a difficult process with the police, I guess. I feel like it felt like the right thing to report it. And I think it was important for me because I felt like the person might come back and kill me. So it felt like it was better to be safe.
They said they would.
Yeah, they threatened to kill me. So, I had that fear that they might. I had so the police process didn't go that well at the beginning. I had a lawyer who didn't support me that much when I had to give a statement to the police.
I mean, you said at the time that you felt like the lawyer and the police were...
working together. Yeah, I know. I mean, it felt like the lawyer was... It was very strange because the lawyer came from an organisation which I normally really liked, and that they helped me a lot with dealing with this trauma, but she seemed to have a connection to the police. And it was very strange when I went there, and she seemed very friendly with the police, and like she knew them, and she didn't protect me from any of the completely, just very biased questioning.
Would you feel okay sharing some of the type of questions that you felt were?
I mean, on the one hand, it was just completely degrading and like just completely kind of shattered my confidence. And because, I mean, for me, talking about it, I felt like a child, and then it was just like horrible to be kind of made into their stereotype of some kind of victim. And then they asked really cruel questions, disgusting questions, like what kind of underwear was I wearing? And
why do you think they asked that?
I think they were perverse, and I guess there was this sort of assumption that as a victim, and I think this is very much in like the abuser psyche, that as a victim you somehow want to be abused, and it's easier for them to console themselves if they think that I wanted to be abused, which is obviously not the case. Like, does a child want to be abused? No.
And then you reported one of the police officers who had been asking these strange, insulting questions. What was the police response to that complaint?
Well, they wrote a written letter to me, and they said that they had considered my complaint, where I listed, maybe I should go into some of the other questions that they asked. They also asked whether I had consumed alcohol or drugs on that day, as if that would make a difference to what had happened. And they also made me demonstrate a part of the abuse, where my lawyer had to pretend to be me, and I had to put a piece of fabric over her mouth like it happened in the attack.
Mm-hmm. So they made you reenact the abuse, but with you as the abuser and your lawyer as the victim.
Yeah. I think it was so hard because in that situation, I guess it took so much courage to even go there. And then I just wanted to answer the questions as much as possible and provide as much evidence as I could. And I think it was so hard because of the power dynamic, and I wasn't able to be aware of my emotions and how I was feeling at that moment. And then afterwards, I just felt like a wreck and it felt like a second abuse. Yeah, because of the way that they were treating me. But anyway, going back to the complaint, they just wrote a letter back saying that they had like considered it, and they'd talked to the police officers, and the police officers just wrote their response of how, according to their guidelines, they hadn't done anything wrong. That was part of their normal questioning process, which I think just raises the bigger topic of, if they think that that's some kind of normal way to treat anyone who's been through that experience, then it's obviously not.
So they said, in response, they said that's our normal process. So essentially asking questions like, what type of underwear were you wearing? And then making you reenact the rape with your lawyer as the victim and you as the abuser. That was their normal process. That was their response.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's not true as well, because I also had a second appointment where I had to continue talking about what happened. And that was with 2 female police officers. And I specifically requested 2 female ones. Normally, I don't feel like, it doesn't matter to me whether they're male or female, really, as long as they're a kind person. But it just felt like I had such a terrible experience with these 2 male police officers that I thought it might help having female police officers, and it did actually help. And it still felt like they were police officers, but the questions were much kinder, and they were just kinder. They weren't, I could tell that they weren't sexualizing me or looking at me weirdly, or it just felt like they had empathy. They were empathetic, and that made such a difference. And they didn't ask me questions that I thought I didn't come out of that thinking these aspects were problematic.
How did you come out of the first interview with the male police officers?
Yeah, I came out and just felt like I'd been attacked again. It was very strange, because I felt I could feel the energy from them, and they felt so violent, and I felt really scared, attacked. Yeah. And it felt like the whole time like I was the one being questioned, because they'd researched me, and just the whole tone of it was very skeptical from the beginning.
Because you described it to me, because obviously we're friends, and I've kind of been close to you as you've been through this process. I got the impression, I don't know if you had the same impression, that the police generally gave you the impression that you had committed the crime and you were under investigation.
Yeah, the whole time.
Yeah, it seems to me almost as if the police officer's objective was to disprove your report. But then the question would be, why?
And I guess if they are also abusive, or they've also had histories of abuse, they want to cover up.